Hello, everybody. How are you doing? How's everyone out there in our CV19 world? I hope you're all staying well, healthy, but more importantly, staying nice and calm. So welcome to this first live episode of Ancients of Calm. And I am delighted to be chatting to Reece Arundel today. Reece and I connected on Facebook earlier this year. And he has hugely impressed me by through the consistency and the generosity and the breadth of wisdom that he has been showing up pretty much every day and sharing with his community. And I thought Reece is the perfect person to interview for this first episode. But before we meet Reece, a quick background onto what this is all about. So Agents of Calm is an idea that I have had for many, many years now that has sort of evolved naturally into the content platform to support my job and my work as a rapid transformational therapist and coach. And that's very much as the lens through which I see the world and have done for many years, but also the underlying motive behind the reason that I do this work, which is to help as many ambitious people and emerging leaders as I can bring more calm to their lives and their work as a means to achieving more faster and with less resistance. So when I use the word calm, I don't just mean it in the familiar definition of a state of calm, that state of being that we get to when we're relaxed and tranquil and peaceful. I use it much more as the backbone of a system for a way of being, a way of living in what are very challenging, very transformative, but also incredibly auspicious times to be alive. And it's a calm defined by three pillars. And that's the pillar of clarity, of balance, and of raised consciousness. So this series of podcasts and videos aims to capture the stories, the thoughts, and the ideas of people like Reece, who are showing up as themselves or representing their business and contributing to one or all three of those pillars. And that's something that Reece has been doing in abundance. So without further ado, welcome, Reece.
Thank you, Christian. No, thank you for your kind words. I really, really do appreciate that. And I actually feel blessed to be the first individual to help you kick off the show. Like I woke up this morning, I was like, oh my God, this is actually something I put on one of my goals to do last year. And it was like, oh, it's coming to a reality. I was like, brilliant.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, mate. And like I said, I mean, I don't. We connected. We were just talking about that, weren't we? We're not quite sure how we connected, but yeah. I mean, I follow your broadcasts every day, and even as someone that's professionally trained in a lot of personal development as a therapist and a coach, I still leave every single one of your broadcasts having learned, and I think that's incredibly valuable and important. So why don't you just give us a bit of intro about you, where you live, what you're up to? Who's the man behind Reece?
Yeah, so no, as Christian said, my name's Reece. I am 22 years old or young, depending on how you want to look at it. And I'm from Essex, the UK, if you probably couldn't tell. And I started out traditional sort of role, traditional life, getting into a job. I was working in London. I thought that was the best way to go, but I just felt very, very unsatisfied. It wasn't fulfilling whatsoever. I was constantly felt like I was sitting in a glass prison 24/7. I couldn't help anyone. I couldn't even help myself. So it just wasn't doing anything for me. So I started looking into other routes. So I started learning to trade Forex. Forex was okay. But when I was like 19, I lost £1,000 in 10 seconds.
I've been there.
Yeah. That was more than what I was earning in a month. So I'm not knocking it at all. I know it does work and I know people are successful. I just didn't enjoy it. I did carry on after losing that money. And then I got into recruitment. I thought, okay, I'll get into a sales role. I thought the harder I work, the more I'll be able to benefit. But it's still massively unfulfilling. I just wasn't like, even though I had no time whatsoever. I had no time. So I was like, okay, I really need to take control of my life. So I set up my property business last June. And that's where, as Christian said, a lot of my sort of Facebook lives and my actual sort of giving content back out to people come from. So the person that introduced me, done my training with, he said, "Oh, I do Facebook Lives." And I found it quite boring to talk about property. I didn't find it, just wasn't doing much for me. I was like, oh, I'd love to talk about sort of mindset, like motivation, different things that I've been through, different things I've experienced as well, or what I've spoke to people with. So I thought, okay, I'll do the Facebook Lives. And that's where it sort of come from. It shifted to that sort of more motivation, more inspiration, more that side of things. And then, last November, got introduced to network marketing in health and nutrition. So that social media sort of presence helped me as well to help other people, because I could get out to a wider audience. I could lead as well. And that's what it really sort of helped with the skills. But that's where I am at the minute. So I've got a property business and then also doing network marketing in health and nutrition.
Brilliant. So I think you've sort of answered the first question on that. So what's your inspiration to showing up every day and sharing what you do?
Yeah, so I realised quite quickly it was bigger than me. Like just by doing the videos and doing different things like that. That's the actual videos. I like have to do them, but I didn't realise, even if people weren't watching them and weren't tuning in, I actually this keeps me going every single day. A girl that I knew growing up, she had suicidal thoughts, wanted to commit suicide basically, and my video come up on Facebook and it prevented her from doing that. And I was like, oh my God, like that's so big. I didn't even realize that had happened until she told me about 2-3 months later, and she was like, you literally stopped me from killing myself. I was like, oh my God. Like,
what a story.
So that keeps me going pretty much every day, that as well, and that I'm giving back to other people, because I realized if I play small, it's no benefit to anyone. If I get out there, especially with the situation we're in now, I thought I've got to be present. I've got to be something positive that people can go towards, because it's giving back to them, because everything you see on the news, whatever, is negative. So I thought, okay, if we can give something back, give some positivity to people, then it could brighten up their day. And same with that example of the lady, that girl that I knew. I don't know how it's actually affecting and changing people, even though they don't directly message or don't directly comment. It is actually affecting others. So it becomes bigger than me. I think that's what I realized quite quickly. It's bigger than me. It's helping people.
Mate, that's amazing. And I think what I love about what you just said is, I think a lot of people, mostly people in my line of work actually, that are coaching or doing the therapy work, Facebook Live is seen as quite important to building their profile and as a client acquisition tool. But sometimes I think we're all guilty of showing up, doing a couple of lives, getting no sort of engagement or feedback, and then giving up, going, well, that didn't work. And the point is it's not about us. And if you can help, like you've done, if you can just help one person, if you can say one thing that helps one person every single day, then it's worth that 5, 10, 15 minutes, where it is showing up, and to be emotionally unattached to what you're doing and just give. So I think that's amazing. What an amazing story. And is she's still doing okay today?
Yeah, she's still fine, still keeping contact with her. But that just opened my eyes. I was like, oh my God, like this isn't about me. Like, even if I'm feeling bad or down or whatever, I have to do this, because that could be the impact that changes somebody else's life.
It really does. It's compound interest, isn't it, this type of work? And it's the consistency that stood out for me with you, is that it's almost every day, isn't it? I mean, do you make a point of doing it every day?
Pretty much. I've been trying to do it every day. I missed during this time. I missed Easter Sunday. That was the only
give you that one.
That was the only time I missed. I did find it quite hard. I used to try and do it every day. That was my goal. But I had, where I was doing my job, where I had the property business, where I had other things, trying to go to the gym, I found it a lot of pressure on me, and it was quite stressful. Whereas at the minute, where I've got a lot more sort of time flexibility, I'm a lot more consistent with it. I have been trying to do it. I have been doing it every day. The timings have changed some days, because like some days I'm like doing this and doing different things like that. So I'll do it in the evening. But I always find something to talk about, which is good.
And where do you find those things? Are they things that you've read or you've watched or you listened to, or are they just things that are important to you?
So it's a bit of everything, really. So it's sometimes if I'm listening to different podcasts, different things like that, I'm like, oh, okay, that could be good to talk about. Or if I get a little snippet from it, I'm like, oh, okay, I can put my spin on that. I can talk about points that's affected me or how it's affected me. But then, also what I'm going through. I generally, most of them are sort of motivating myself in terms. So I'm talking like, oh, okay, this is what I'm currently going through or been through, or I've spoke with people and they're like, oh, this is something I'm struggling with at the minute. And then I'll take it from there. That's generally where my sort of content comes from.
It's good. It's a good insight. I mean, there's a guy that I follow that I love called Jason Goldberg, JG. He's an amazing guy. And he actually, I caught a podcast of his yesterday. He was talking about where to get your content ideas from, because I think that's, again, a lot of things that people struggle with is, well, I know I need to show, what do I talk about? And there isn't, one of the things he came up with, which I thought was brilliant, was remixing other people's wisdom, but making sure you deliver it through the lens of your own worldview and your own perspective, which is what you do very, very well, which is great. So out of everything that you've shared so far, could you, within the context of staying calm and balanced, which is what I'm really about, and sort of helping people, raise their consciousness during this time, what would be the 3 most important bits of advice you would share with people right now?
Don't listen to the news, because negative news sells. That's probably the biggest thing. Then also social media, get rid of negative people or limit engagement with them, because your subconscious mind never sleeps. So even if you're scrolling through it and you see it or listen to it, it's still getting embedded in your brain. So that's probably number 2. And then you actually decide what you consume. Because if you, same as if you eat loads and loads of rubbish, the end result's not going to be that good. But if you're listening to sort of positive material, motivational speech, reading books that are sort of inspirational, listening to people, so getting in a community of positive people, I think that's very important, because you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
That's a great quote. Who said that? I read that the other day. So it's basically be mindful about the media that you consume, surround yourself with good people, and just basically stay healthy.
I'd probably say that's top 3. Definitely positive environment comes down to it, and what you're listening to, what you're tuning into, and make the decisions to stay healthy, because otherwise it's going to sort of backfire.
Absolutely. And what has the period of lockdown taught you most about yourself? We're both clearly quite big on self-awareness and self-examination. What are you learning about yourself, Reese, during lockdown?
That I am disciplined and I can stick to a routine, but then I'm also very lazy at the same time, unless I'm consciously aware of it, like getting up in the morning. Before I was getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, oh, okay, this is absolutely fine. And then this kind of hit and it just threw everything out. And I was like, all right, I'm getting up at like 7 or 8 o'clock now. I was like, I'm missing quite a bit of the day. But I realized I am actually more disciplined than what I thought I am. And I'm actually helping a lot more people than I thought I am as well. They're probably the 2 biggest things that I've picked up on during this time.
And do you think, though, both of those qualities and values you'll extend that into when things get back to a good degree of normality? Yeah,
definitely. So I took this time to sort of set the foundations to build the future that I'm looking for to help more people. So I was like, okay, I'm going to create the habits now. Yes, sometimes I haven't been 100% strict on them, but then there are like certain things. So every morning I'm doing my morning routine, doing different things like that. And I'm like, okay, I'm then building the habits. Because I used to, even before all of this, full lunch and stuff like that, I'd pretty much eat the same stuff like every day. It was just that habit. It was just habitual. I was just doing it.
Good. And I'm going to ask you the same question in terms of what have you learned about other people, either colleagues, friends, family? Is there anything that's kind of percolated up in terms of the people around you?
That some people will, especially when it comes to the news, will believe everything they hear. And social media, they think that that's that life to live, essentially. So they see these like bloggers, these influencers, and that's what they think life's about. And then I'd say that's one thing I noticed, that people, comparing themselves with others quite a bit. But then the biggest thing is people are, I'd say this is the biggest thing on a general thing. People are starting to appreciate what actually matters. So family,
Yeah.
Actually food, having a roof over your head, breathing, living,
Yeah.
being able to actually live your life every single day. I think that's what people have realised now, that okay, you don't need them Gucci trainers. They're not important.
Yeah.
No one actually really cares.
Yeah.
I think people are starting to realise that and are
Yeah.
opening their eyes.
Yeah, I agree. And I really like that. I think about that a lot. There does seem to be a general collective sense of waking up, really, isn't it? And that's great. I mean, a lot of the things that I try and do, the goal for my clients is that raised level of consciousness, and that's quite a wide spectrum. But I think a lot of people right now, you're right, are starting to remember and realize that the simple things in life are so important and so valuable. And that kind of leads me on to the next question, really, like assuming we're going to go back eventually to a degree of normality. I mean, there's lots of talk at the moment around how this experience is going to shift the paradigm slightly in terms of how we work. And it's a great opportunity to change. And it's certainly accelerated a lot of things that have been taken, particularly digital transformation, like pretty much the entire economy now is virtual and digital. It's amazing. But I think there's also, for me, I think it starts with each and every one of us. It's an individual choice that what can we take from this experience to live better as individuals, as part of a community, as part of the world. But is there anything specifically that you hope in terms of new behaviors, habits, aspects of life might tip in from the fringe into mainstream culture or society when things land again and things get back to normal?
Yeah, so I'd probably go with, I think, because before all of this, like the UK was the most stressed out country in the whole of Europe, and that was, we was running around doing so much for somebody else. Generally building somebody else's thing. People are now starting to realise that okay, I can't always rely on a job. I need something else. I need to actually look after my family. That's the main thing. They need to be able to provide food. They need to be able to provide that. So I think this sort of shift in what people will value as well, because people will just go into a job. They don't actually realize why they was going to it. They was just to pay the bills. And I think that will sort of shift now. Of a lot of people have enjoyed this quality time with their family and realize that if it does ever happen again, they need to be able to provide for their family.
Yeah.
So I think that sort of mentality will shift of what they're actually worrying about now.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And again, I see that, or I feel that as balance. People are starting to realize that, they do have a choice. And it's, for some people, it's a spectrum. Some people have been put into, profound difficulty financially with their careers, and some more than others. But generally, I think people are realizing that they do need to balance their lives more, and they can balance them more. They can, balance their work with their family and stuff. Me, myself, the biggest insight I've had is spending so much time with my daughter and realizing how much of that I miss by just being busy for busy's sake, So anything else? I mean, what about yourself? Is there anything that apart from you mentioned the discipline and things, is there anything else that's fundamentally shifted for you professionally or from a health perspective that you're going to take into?
Go bigger, basically. Go bigger, because the stress is exactly the same. If it's a small project or a large project, just go bigger, because it's got nothing to lose and a lot to gain, and actually benefits more people by going bigger. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I'm going to do, is just take it to the max, really.
Brilliant. And just sort of be the example, really. Exactly. So moving on to something probably a bit more visceral. So in terms of what does, consciousness is a big part of my work, and it means different things to different people. So what does consciousness mean to you? But more importantly, has this period of having limited to no contact with other humans sort of given you the ability to connect with that understanding your own consciousness a little bit deeper?
So I've kind of actually, before all this happened, I'd been on this sort of journey of going internal beforehand. So when I was about 18, 19, when I was doing a job that I was doing, I didn't enjoy it whatsoever. But I had a lot of time where I was by myself and I was completely destroying everything, basically. I was like, why am I here? This is not enjoyable. I'm completely stressed out 24/7. So I had already kind of been on that journey a little while ago, and now I'm starting to expand it. But the consciousness to me is actually being aware of the actual world and the decisions that you make. You have the choice. And then as well as that, being present. We're never really present. We always are thinking. we're always thinking, oh, I've got to pay that bill in 2 weeks. I've got to be, instead of enjoying the moments now, like I think a lot of people are starting to realize that as well. They're starting to become a bit more present. And now that we've got like limited engagement, that we can go out, people that are going on walks, they're starting to appreciate the nature that's around them, appreciate the different things like that. And I think it is, they're becoming aware of everything around. But yeah, I'd say it's like the presence and being present.
Yeah, I think presence is a brilliant one, mate. And you're right. I think with the absence of that sort of external stimuli that has been taken away from us, with, you know, the commute, going to work and everything else that goes with it, and kind of the, you know, the agenda of the weekend, you are sort of finding yourself being able to be much more present with the family and or with your, you know, whatever the situation is for you. That's a great one. And so, you know, in the haste of our sort of daily lives pre-COVID-19, what do you think it was that we weren't seeing as, you know, as a society that we're now seeing now?
We were, it probably links back to the sort of stressing about unnecessary things. So, for instance, a job, for instance, different things like that. I think it was, putting too much time into something that doesn't actually matter. I know it's paying bills and everything like that, but it's not what we are thankful for. You never remember in 10 years, oh, I went to work that day, that was absolutely amazing day. You don't remember that. You go, oh, I spent that amazing Saturday with a family, we went to the zoo, we did this, we did that. And I think people are now starting to shift that, because beforehand people's priorities were their job, were their, okay, I've got to do this because I have to pay a bill or have to do something. Whereas now it's, okay, right, I actually enjoy spending time with my family, I'm creating memories, I'm doing different things like this, and I've been able to still work. So I think that's sort of shifted for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it's that question of choice, isn't it? And question of priority, that people do have the ability to prioritize on their own basis and put themselves first a little bit more. And they don't have to. I think fear is a big one for me, which leads me to the next question. But I think a lot of people are realizing that the stuff that, the fear was a very normal emotion that we felt, in our day to day. I don't want to go too deep into that, but I think what a lot of people are realizing now, myself, is that actually a lot of that was just stories in my head. And now that we're in almost what many people would used to consider a worst case scenario, like locked in our own homes with no social connection, the pubs aren't open, there's no football on the TV, the schools are closed, our kids are here. Now, for a lot of people, a few weeks ago, that was a nightmare, really. But I think what a lot of people are realizing, well, actually, it's a little bit stoicism, really. They're realizing, well, actually, it's okay. It's quite good fun. I'm reconnected with the family. I'm sort of reconnected with myself, my goals, what I really want to do, the priorities and the choices that I have. So I think that's one thing that I'm definitely going to take away. But coming back to that question of fear, like when you, Reese, are facing a fear, and it's come to the point where that fear is holding you back from doing or achieving something, what strategies or ways do you have for dealing with that?
Yeah. Okay. So I'd probably say, I actually heard something, and it was, on the other side of fear is greatness. And that always kind of stuck in my head. I was like, okay, and I've been through it myself. When you go through these fearful moments, on the other side of it is that sort of bliss. And there's a really good episode, Will Smith talks about it. And he talks about fear, and he talks about skydiving. And he says that him and his mates, they go out, they say, oh yeah, let's go skydiving. And then like 16 hours beforehand, or like 8 hours beforehand, he's like, I can't sleep, I can't do anything. His most fearful experience ever. Goes in a plane, like realizes, oh my God, I've never been in a plane with the door open either, and this is scary. But then the second he jumps out, he realizes it's the most blissful experience of his life. He actually, once he lands, he goes home, gets his kids so they can experience the same opportunity that he's been through, and he gets them to do a parachute or like the skydive as well. And it is, I think, when fears come up for me, I've realized that I'm like, okay, you have to get uncomfortable to grow. And this leads back to the stress sort of things. If it's a big project or a small project, whatever it is, the stress is pretty much exactly the same. There's no difference to it. But I've seen when I broke that barrier, when I pushed myself through it, because we, as humans, we only run on about 40% capability. We don't ever push ourselves to the limit. You hear stories like of, for instance, David Goggins, who absolutely took his body to the limit, and he conquered it, and people wouldn't even consider doing anything like that. But it's just that sort of, I think, progressive overload as well. So you start instead of doing like 0 to 100, start gradually increasing it, because you become more comfortable with the sort of easier or smaller tasks, and then it leads up to that bigger one.
Yeah. So you very much on the mindset of just smashing straight through it and just recognizing it and breaking and going for it.
Yeah, pretty much, because I look at it, the longer I leave it, the bigger the fear grows, the worse it gets. So the quicker I can just get through it, and whatever happens on the other side of it, then I'll deal with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a case, because I've done it before where I've just left things, and it gets 10 times worse. You start playing mental games and it just destroys you. So yeah, I will just rather go for it, see what happens, and then take it from there, really.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, almost, I think, without exception, the people that I work with, when we're focusing on, or we have an obstacle that's fear-based, without exception, when they finally break through that, the response is always, oh, that wasn't so bad. Because the fear is real. It sits in the body, depending on where it is, and the feeling is real, and it hurts. And that's the same for everyone. But the stories that we tell ourselves in our heads, they're not real. There is some fear that's important. There are objective things that we're not going to run onto a busy road, or jump off a cliff without a parachute. There are certain things we just don't do that are logical. But most of the fears that we have, they're in our head, and the longer we leave them, the more tangible and the more real they become. So good advice. So mate, one last thing I wanted to ask you. Humor and laughter for me has been a big part of this experience, and it has been, it's a big part of calm as well for me, just because of all the physiological and the emotional benefits of laughter. What is the funniest thing that has happened to you during lockdown?
Right. Okay. So I like this one. This one's quite good. So because the gyms are shut, I can't exercise. I can't go to the gym. I don't have any weights at home, so I've had to improvise. Yeah. So I have, or in the shed, there's a roof bar, but it's like square and it's probably about that thick. So it's not very easy to grab hold of. And I was like, oh, I'll put buckets of water on the side of it because I can kind of balance it up. I was like, oh, that'll be fine. And I was trying to do shoulder press. So I was lifting it from the ground and then lifting it above my head like that. And then because it's a square bar and the buckets are sitting on it, as I lifted it and got it to about 6 inches above my head, the bucket slid, smacked me in the face. All the water went over me. I dropped the bar, and then I dropped the other bucket. No, I didn't. I literally, I was like, this would have been perfect. This would have, like, Facebook, you've been framed, the whole lot. I'd have been like... Brilliant. But yeah, I got soaked. Brilliant. So that's the best thing that's happened. Well, funniest thing that's happened to me at the moment.
Good man, hilarious. I know there's a lot. The one thing that I've taken out of this whole thing is just the sheer comedy that is on social media, on being shared on WhatsApp at the moment. I mean, everyone's a comedian, and there's just been some. I think the funniest one for me is, I forget his name now. The conversation with himself over the fence. Did you see that one? Where he's basically playing the same character. Mate, I mean, I don't know who that guy is. I don't know if he's famous, but give him a TV show. He's a genius. Yeah, exactly. And I might share that on my Facebook profile afterwards. Well, look, Reese, that's it for now. Mate, thank you so much for giving me your time and sharing not just your thoughts and your wisdom today, but for all the generosity that you give to people on your profile every day. And I've put Reese's Facebook profile URL in there. I cannot recommend that you connect with Reece enough. Check out his stuff. Like I said, as a professional coach and therapist and somebody who's been studying personal development for many years, I always leave his broadcasts and his messages with having learned something that I can take into my day. So I'd really encourage you to do that. And look, mate, who knows what the next few weeks hold, but wishing you all the best. Keep showing up. And mate, thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you for having me. As I said earlier, I feel absolutely blessed, and it's been an absolute honour. I've enjoyed every second of it, and I hope you'll have an absolute amazing day.
Brilliant, mate. Thank you very much, Reece.
Thank you.
So there you go. That's the first episode of Agents of Calm. Thank you so much for coming in. If you're watching it live, thank you very much indeed. If you're coming to the replay, if you found this useful or you feel like it's the information and some wisdom in here that you want to share with other people, give us some love in the comments or share it on your profiles or on your business pages or on any other social media you've got. If you want to connect with me, please do, to talk about some of the information we've shared. Until then, I'll be doing another one of these in a couple of days. I'll be announcing who that's with very soon, but wishing you a wonderful day, all the love, but more importantly, all the calm, and I will see you again very soon.